Alrighty, guys. So this is episode. Hell, I don't remember what episode. What episode is this? 8, 9, 8,
I think about 8.
8.
Yeah.
It's episode 8. Episode 8 of the Colossal Kaiju Fan Podcast, and I am your host, egotistical host, because I'm lazy and I don't feel like saying humble host anymore. Sharktopus117. You may all call me Sharky. As always, with me is my good friend.
Hi, this is Spotted Alien.
Yeah, thank you. That was a thing.
Yeah,
But
it's all right.
today is a special day, Spalian. But before we get into that, just like to clarify for the audience, I was gone last week. Spalian, of course, you covered for me. You got a guest on the show.
Yep.
Hungry Zombie was there. It must have been. I imagine it was a good episode. Hasn't come out yet, so I haven't been able to review it. But I imagine you did a good job. So I'm just gonna say you did. Nice job.
Yeah,
Spalian.
I'm going to imagine we did a good job, too.
For those of you wondering why I wasn't there, none of your business. Now, today, Spalian, is an important episode because today we finish Fall of Nemesis, or at least the Fall of
Indeed.
Nemesis cast. We have one kaiju to discuss, and then a little bit of something else, which
Yeah.
we'll get into when we get to it. So this is gonna be a pretty interesting episode, I feel, for the viewers, audience, all of you guys,
Listeners?
listeners, yeah. And I think without further delay, let's get right to it.
All right, and let's get started with our discussion on Lycanoid. He's kind of an average-looking guy, but really, he's pretty surreal. He's a werewolf with cybernetic nanites flowing through his system, and they have caused him to mutate heavily into a giant
Werewolf.
cyborg werewolf or something like that. Got nanites and nanomachines all over him. And apparently he has a severe identity crisis. But we're going to get into that in just a little bit. First off, what are your thoughts on his overall design?
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie on this one, guys, but I'm not a big fan of Lycanoid. He's all right. He's nothing special to me.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. He's not my favorite looking kaiju. He looks okay.
I give them props for, and this is actually something I kind of just give to CKC in general for experimenting with mammalian kaiju, which if you think about it, isn't something that's done very often. And I'll give them props for tackling on the idea of a wolf and a werewolf and making it interesting and unique. Nice job there.
He kind of has some elements of, who are those two Toho kaiju?
The Gargantuas?
Yeah, the Gargantuas. He has some elements of those in his design,
I
but
could kind of see that, yeah. I get what you mean.
for the most part, just not one of my favorites.
I mean, I like his backstory. It's an interesting backstory. It's unique. I like his combat, so I'm sure that's plenty of fun to play around with. But I just like other things better.
Yeah, he just doesn't have that
Oomph.
really slick look, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
I dig the asymmetry in his design. If you look at his legs, you'll notice that his left thigh is furry and his right thigh isn't.
Yeah, and that looks very cool.
It kind of helps emphasize the internal war going on between his natural, I don't know if I call it that, but natural werewolfness
And his
nanites.
and his more stable nanites, but yeah. Well, not really stable, I guess, but
Not stable anymore. They might have been.
yeah.
But I suppose we should actually explain why there's a werewolf with nanites running around, huh?
Yeah.
So, once upon a time, there was this guy named Ipique in the Pacific Northwest. His dad was a German immigrant, and his mother was a member of the Chinook tribe, and he was a werewolf who got orphaned. Doesn't say why, but because of that, or maybe as a result of that, he became his werewolf side manifested earlier than it should have. So he grew up being a werewolf. Like he would be switched between wolf form and human form.
Yeah. Long story short, he kept getting scars before because of his quick regeneration. So they tried to put some nanites into his body that would really help with the regenerative
scarring. Yeah, that was the thing. There was this biotech firm, and they were making nanites in the hope of artificial skin grafting and repairing superficial wounds like burns, scars, cuts, etc. So they're like, well, this guy has a buttload of scars all over his body, and they're big scars too. He's the perfect candidate for our body. So it's for our machine invention, whatever. So of course Ibuku's like, all right, so he goes through with it, and there's just one thing they didn't count on, which is the fact that the nanites react violently to a werewolf, and that the two basically end up fighting each other inside his body for control.
Yeah, so now he's heavily mutated and just looks kind of nasty.
It'd be like two immune systems fighting each other. That is essentially what it is.
Yeah,
Which is a unique idea. I really do dig that. So, there's organic flesh and bone being built upon nanite skin being built upon organic flesh and bone, just piling up on each other. That's how he grows so big.
yeah. At the same time, though, that's also kind of something that detracts from me because they have that really heavily fantasy werewolf type of thing, clashing with the nanites, the more science fiction type of thing, and that I don't know, that just kind of clashes a bit too much in the backstory for me.
I mean, I guess I could see that. I mean, I dig it. I like that I
I
can
think it's cool to have one monster get heavily mutated by another outside factor, but I don't know. Lycanoid just does it a bit too much
I don't
for
know.
me.
I like that they try to blend science fiction and fantasy. That's something that I can
Yeah,
appreciate.
yeah,
But I don't know. I'm okay with his backstory. I'm adequately satisfied. Uh,
yeah. I'm
uh,
not.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm not quite as satisfied with the backstory, but it does its purpose. So
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you won't be thinking about the internal struggle of this guy when you're busy beating up on Macrosaurus with him.
yeah,
So it's all right. Now onto his. I don't know if we have anything else to say about his design.
not really.
I think we're done.
Blue
Oh,
looks kind of cool, but
one more thing. We have to make this reference because it's in our contract. We gotta do it.
yeah.
But he looks like Ralph from freaking Rampage.
Oh yeah, yeah. He kind of does. He
Man,
has that little
he's a blue
homage to that.
wolf. Mandatory reference has been made. It's the reference that everyone on the forums has made at least 1,000 times.
Yeah,
So we're done with that. We can now move on to his energy system.
which is a very high risk, high reward type of build. He is able to get energy through close quarters combat. So as he's fighting someone, the closer he is to them, the more energy he'll be able to obtain and retain. But as he goes away, his energy will begin to drain. Uh,
So this is referred to as the Fury style of energy, which I believe is the same as Tornak. I'm fairly certain they both have Fury energy, which is pretty cool. However, Tornak doesn't have the draining factor that Lycanoid does, if I recall correctly.
yeah,
Which is, like you said, it makes him very focused on taking huge risks in close combat, but as a result, he'll be able to do ridiculous damage just by taking that risk. But sometimes he might bite off more than he can chew,
yeah,
which will make him an interesting character to play as for that
yeah,
reason.
yeah. And that kind of goes into his ranged combat. He has a couple attacks. One is sort of a howl.
Yeah, it's called
I
the
believe.
Howling War Cry.
Yeah, and that's his major ranged attack that will be able to do most damage. He also has a couple knives that he can graft out of his own bones or nanites and throw at.
Opponents. We
Yeah,
should also, I mean, we'll get to this when we get to melee combat, but these knives can also be used in close combat for severe edge damage,
yeah,
which is a cool concept. I do like the idea of being able to pull weapons out of your body. It's kind of like Nemesis's ability to stab herself and cause a giant explosion, only without damaging yourself.
yeah,
So that's kind of interesting, and it's just going to be really cool to see him do these like almost swordsman-like animations with the knives in his hands.
yeah. And then one final thing he has is he's able to blow a gust of air, which is a bit more confusing for me because it only deals knockback. It doesn't do damage, which I would think
It's basically my assumption is that it's mostly meant for characters that are in the air, either by jumping or flight.
Or a get out of jail free sort of card.
Yeah, or get out of jail free card to just if you're taking too much heat and you need a bit of you need to take a breather and regain your bearings. I'm sure the little fairy wind would be helpful.
Yeah. The only problem I see is that
What does
Lycanoid
that
is
have to do with a werewolf? That's my problem with it.
well, werewolves are known for howling, so I imagine he has good lung capacity.
I'll
But
I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down.
yeah.
All right.
But as for the knockback, it's kind of confusing for a ranged character, not a ranged, a melee character to have something that is intended
To
to give you
reduce
breathing space.
to reduce melee output essentially. In
Yeah.
short, bottom line, it reduces your melee output, which is kind of a strategical in the end,
Yeah,
I
it's kind
guess.
of
You gotta think about how you use it.
yeah. And I don't imagine a lot of people will be using it a lot unless they get into a scuffle that they really need to get out of.
It's like Tersoccer's lightning beam. It's there, but you're probably not gonna use it much. Likely.
Except for those really rare occasions,
Yeah. But now we can move on to his grappling, which is
which really isn't much. He's just kind of
average.
yeah, typical grappler, not much to say. But his melee combat is a bit more of his focus, and it's a bit more interesting, and where
Yes,
we can kind of begin to really
dig in
discuss.
and be all like, ooh, stuff. But the reason for this is he's got two distinct fighting styles, which are based off of whether or not the nanites or the wolf are controlling his body more.
Yeah,
Obviously, neither one controls it totally, but there are times when they'll dominate the other. So
yeah. So his nanite side, it has a more
human,
human-like approach. Yeah, he's more controlled, and he's more focused on being able to counterattack, and just be a bit more thoughtful in how he attacks.
fighting more with he uses his bone weapons, like we said before, in two-handed fighting style. I'm curious as to how many of his bone knives he pulls out at a time. Does he only pull one out, or does he pull two? It's a dual wield.
He probably only pulls out one at a time because those do require energy
That's
to
true.
pull out. So he would probably only be able to pull out one and use that uh, however he needs, and then he would have to expend more energy to pull out another.
I would hope that the bone knives break after a certain period of time, so that way you would have to force a player to continuously be pulling them out. Like you do like 3 hits and then it would break, and you have to pull out a new one.
Maybe I can't imagine they'd stay spawned for too long. So
Yeah, so. But an interesting thing is, for his super rage move, as this is how we're interpreting it. Here it says rage mode. So
yeah,
as we
and
recall, that should basically be your super
yeah,
move.
we have two theories. We have your theory, which you were about to go into.
And then the other theory is that's just like basically he does a stance change. But
Yeah,
the other
something.
theory being that rage mode is just the name for the stance change.
Yeah, and my theory is that the stance change is initiated by
Buttons.
yeah, a button press or some specific combination that will get him into that stance change. But I don't know. Rage mode might be brought on by an excess of energy, taking too many hits at a time, or something along those lines.
Here's why I think the rage mode is legitimately like the rage move is because to represent his wolf side to like assert over the nanites, like that just seems to me like something that would have to build up. Like you couldn't just do that like that. It's something
Yeah,
you'd have to work towards. And when he does, however he does it, once he does do it, he drops to all fours and he fights like a wolf, like a feral dog. Like he uses his teeth, his foreclaws a bit, and he loses the use of his weapons, which sounds like a huge disadvantage to me. but he does on the upside gain significant running speed and melee speed, which I guess is a bit of an upside. I don't know. That's the kind of thing that I can't say if it's, you know, beneficial or detrimental until I saw it in motion.
Yeah.
But at present, I would probably just stay in his regular mode most of the
So
time.
this may also insinuate that rage mode may be different. Well, what we keep referring to as the rage sort of meter for each monster may be different in measurement for each monster, which,
As in, some will take more to reach rage mode, others will take less.
yeah,
It'll take, you know.
which I'm still not completely positive on whether we'll have a sort of rage mode in the game. I use quotation marks there because
Because, you
of the
know,
old
the audience can see you, you know.
and the Godzilla games that all had a sort of rage mode.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether we'll
I'm
go down that route or
fairly certain there is rage moves, but I'm not 100%. I feel like
yeah,
this has been brought up before. I'm fairly certain it's been brought up before somewhere.
yeah,
It's just a matter of, you know, Simon telling us and correcting us when we automatically, you know, get it wrong.
yeah. As for weaknesses, he's just not very fortuitous. He doesn't have a lot of resistance. He has relatively low defense, and he mostly has to stay on the attack to keep people away.
Yeah, so
Um,
somebody like, say, Heart Eater or Katusha, who's based off of keeping you away.
oh, I just noticed this. His
What?
bipedal and quadrupedal stances are each useful, but he cannot switch back and forth between them at will. So his rage mode will most likely be like you were saying, where it has the actual.
Boom! Called it! So yeah, that's that. All right. That's kind of an interesting way to do it. I don't know if we brought this up about the Howl, but the Howl takes also a long time to build to make it actually really good, so that leaves him vulnerable.
Yeah,
That's another weakness. But I don't know. There's not really too much left to talk about him. Really, he's just kind of there.
yeah.
I mean, who
Um,
knows? Watch when Fall of Nemesis comes out. He ends up being like our favorite character. Just
yeah,
watch it happen.
probably.
I would laugh. But yeah, I think that's about it to talk about Lycanoid, and I think we can move on to our next item of discussion.
All right.
All right, Spalian. So we finished all the kaiju.
Yeah, we finished all the kaiju for Fall of Nemesis.
After this, we just have all the kaiju that are currently unassigned to any game releases.
Yeah,
So so you and the audience may be wondering, well, what's left? You're done with the kaiju. What's there left to discuss about this game? Well, we still have one last item to discuss, and that is not necessarily the kaiju, but the kaijujin, which is an interesting little addition to the game that they've added, both plot-wise and gameplay-wise. But the kaijujin, essentially, Spalian, as you and I both know,
yeah.
they're not gods. They're like above that. Like they.
They are. I think I can try to explain it if you want. Uh,
Well, I was just gonna use the first sentence in the wiki page.
well, I've talked with Simon a bit about it, and the Kaijujin are sort of, and they're not really an entity as like a god or a controller, but um, they're more a concept, like a concept of the mind, like.
Actually, that reminds me of something. I want to make a quick reference here, but in Mass Effect 2, there's a bit where they say that a god isn't a noun; it's a verb. It's a force. It's something that exists and just it is. So that's kind of what the kaijujin are. They're not
Yeah,
nouns; they're verbs.
yeah, just a bit. Simon referenced a bit of Incredible Hulk when he was talking about the Kaijujin, but basically, what the Kaijujin are is they don't actually exist. They're just something that are sort of an explanation for why kaiju do things. And from what I was able to glean from that is that um, the Kaijujin can be used to explain things, but they don't really actually exist in any way, shape, or form, and they just are used to help the audience see, oh, here's the story, and this is why it's happening, and this is who's telling the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the game, there are 4 kaijujin, and they're all like basically the essential spirits of what it means to be a kaiju. So they each represent a different aspect of a kaiju. So there's 4. There's Maro, Gra, Voltar, and Tsundere. Maro is a red female like wolf thing, like
She
fiery,
represents, and she represents ferocity.
which is essentially melee.
Yeah.
Gra is this green like buff bug dude kind of deal, who
Yeah.
represents fortitude, which is essentially defense or
Yeah.
grappling. Those two combined essentially. Voltar is this like light blue lightning bolt bug thing, Idugi. He represents agility, which is what it sounds like. It's just speed and charging.
Yeah.
And
And
lastly,
then,
Sundera is a blank page.
yeah, at the time of recording the podcast, the Kaijujin have gotten art released for those that aren't in the know, except for Sundera. And that's just kind of bad luck. We
She
don't,
just hasn't gotten it yet.
yeah, but
We know she's yellow.
we know she's yellow, and that we're not sure what kind of form she would be represented in, but we do know that she represents power or energy, the sort of stuff you would use to
Weaponized
fuel,
stuff.
yeah, like your beams or your,
Guns or
uh,
whatever.
yeah. Um,
So I guess each of these characters drop a power up sometime during the battle that is meant for a specific kaiju. Like say we've got Nemesis versus Ikimasian, and Nemesis does some super awesome melee move. This is how at least how I'm interpreting it. I'm fairly
yeah,
certain this is how it works, but what will happen is then Maro, who represents melee combat and ferocity, will be like, "That was cool. I'm gonna drop you a little melee power up," and then there'll be one that's near Nemesis, but is entirely possible for Ikimation to steal it. That's how I
yeah,
understand it. And there's essentially it'll in each one of their pages it kind of explains what the uh requirements are for each of the power ups. So for Maro, it says she hates waiting, contemplation, or delays of any kind. And she hates cowardice and praises valor. So if you do something that kind of fits into that thing, you might get a power up from her. And
yeah,
her power up, and each power up does something different. So hers is the Fury power up, which increases attack speed and damage.
and Gra is the fortitude power up or strength, which will increase your durability and your defense, so you can take a lot more hits and be able to stay in the fray a lot longer.
Only you'll have reduced mobility is the downside.
Yeah,
His what's the word I'm looking for? Stipulations are Gra hates to be rushed, to be forced to action, or to be prevented from carrying out his long-term plans. He praises strength and hates fragility.
yeah,
Voltar, who is speed, drops a momentum power-up, which increases the kaiju's movement speed, mostly while charging though.
yeah.
So he generally will benefit a charging type character like, say, Katyusha or Giga Shark.
Yeah, and as for Sundera, who I did just remember, I think Sundera is supposed to take on the form of a shadow of some type.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know how it's
I'm
gonna
not,
work if it's yellow though. Doesn't really make much
yeah,
sense.
a shadow of light or something like that.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
That's probably why there's no art for her. Because how do you even imagine that? I can't physically imagine that in my mind.
yeah,
But real quick before we talk about Tsundere's power up, Voltar's stipulations are that he hates sluggishness and passivity. He praises taking combat to an opponent and hates to see a kaiju fail to act. While Tsundere drops an energy power up, which increases the energy you have, the energy you gain over time, and the damage of your weapon. She
yeah.
hates rash action or unconsidered alternatives. She praises efficiency and hates waste.
So at the time of recording, which one is your favorite?
Of these guys,
Yeah,
so basically just the first 3, really. We can't really talk about Tsundere because we don't have a design.
yeah,
I like Voltar, kind of. I like that he looks really unique, but Gra looks really cool.
yeah. I really
Maro just
like.
kind of looks like a wolf, so she's kind of eh.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think Gra is my favorite. I like the bulk he has and his just just the outline Matt gave to him. I really like his entire look. Plus 4 arms and he looks like a beetle. Beetles are just one of my favorites.
So yeah, he's pretty great. Also, something interesting I just noticed, but all of the Kaijujin are based off of a different energy sort of origin. So Maru is fire, Gra would be radiation, Voltar is electricity. So I'm curious as to what Tsundere will be.
Yeah, maybe she's like gas, or
Or maybe something mystic,
yeah, possibly like an aura.
like an aura type deal. I can
Well,
see that.
they all have kind of an aura, but
Well, yeah, but I know what you mean.
yeah. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it comes out for Sindera.
So yeah, I mean that's really it. There's not much too much to discuss about these guys because they're just power ups really. So at the end of the day, that's kind of what they are. They're power ups and plot devices.
Yeah, effective plot devices a
Yeah,
bit.
effective at that. Not too much to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we're done here.
Yeah.
So this is failing. We just have questions left now.
Yep.
We've got 2 questions to discuss.
Time for some fan mail.
Um, First off, let's just get our dumb question out of the way. Real quickly, I'd like to remind our viewers that we need questions, guys. It'd be wonderful if you guys could, post a bunch in the thread. I guess
Or
if
find some way to post them.
Get them to
maybe
us.
On the YouTube page.
YouTube video comment system that works, I guess. I know everyone hates the YouTube comment system for some reason. I don't know because I don't use it.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in some way get the questions to us, people, please. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Now that we've got that done, let's answer. The first question is from forum user Quinn Red, who asks, "What flavor is the podcast? Mint chocolate or vanilla?" I'd say mint chocolate.
Yeah, I'd say mint, or maybe just chocolate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean not mint chocolate. Could just be chocolate. Razzleberry is the answer, Quinn. Next question, serious time, from Slither234. They ask, of the progenitors, what is your favorite origin? Or which has your favorite origin? Which is a hard question, actually.
Yeah. I kind of, Lizardra I like in terms of design, but in terms of origin, it's kind of messed up. So I'm not sure how.
By messed up, do you mean poorly made, or messed up as in like
as in kind of disturbing that they adopted this lovable little kaiju and then kind of did some horrible experiments, grafted some weapons onto it, stuff like that, the typical.
Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. I don't know, this is a hard one for me. Nemesis is great. Granted, she has a whole novel, so it's kind of, going in her favor.
Oh, wait, no. I know who my favorite kaiju backstory is.
Who?
It is Prospector Pete. I love Prospector Pete's backstory.
Oh yeah, I can't blame you for that, actually.
And the potential it has for just spewing out cheesy sayings in the middle of
combat stuff. That is true.
Yeah.
All right, that's a pretty good one. I know which my favorite is now, actually, Tianlong, because I love the irony to it and just it's kind of depressing almost, but it's really well done.
Yeah,
it's like a really good sad movie. Like, you'll feel bad, but you'll enjoy it at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Like I said, not too much in the way of questions, guys. We need more, but that's about it. We're about done here, Spalian. So before we go, just like to make a few quick announcements. Really just one, but there might be another that I forgot. But now that we're done with the main all of the characters that will be in the CKC games at present that are absolutely confirmed to be in, next episode is going to be a very special interview with Simon Strange. We have to work out the details for that, which we will, like, probably, I don't know, tomorrow, the day after this is recorded.
Yeah.
Or, soon enough. He's kind of busy at the time of this recording, so it might take a couple days to set up how this works out, but we'll do it. So keep that in mind, people. We will be having an interview with Simon Strange. FYI, I'm thinking it's very possible he may opt for it to be a live streamed video. And if that is the case, you will not find it on our channel. It will be on the Simon Strange channel. So just keep that in mind in case the next episode the next episode on our channel completely skips the interview. It's
Yeah.
probably not there. Uh, or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he'll just do it with us the way we do it, and then it will be there.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't know if you got anything else you want to say, Spalian.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add either.
I don't know if we got any announcements. No,
Going through
that's
the Evo votes right now. Probably got the progenitor votes coming up. So
well. Granted, the EVO votes end in like 2 days.
yeah,
So by the time this
at the time of this recording.
so by the time this comes out, that's gonna be completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I'd say we're done. I'm Sharky,
And I'm Spot Alien.
and I'm Sharky. So we'd like to thank you for listening to us, and don't get werewolves.
Don't get werewolf syndrome. It's kind of not the
Not
best,
not,
and
not good for your heart.
they kind of sell it too well. It's not that good.
Yeah, too much cholesterol.
Just get the simulator.
Later, guys.